going ahead today, we'll be talking a bit about the master data as well. So what are the different kinds of master data that are involved that we need to create in EWM, and what are the important tabs over there. So some of the master data that we are going to speak are independent. So these master data will be, when I say independent, what I mean is that it is only created in EWM. It's not created in ECC as well. Some of the master data that we'll be talking about are interlinked. That means in EWM as well, it will be existing. It will be existing in ECC as well. And some of the information will be flowing in from ECC to EWM. So there's that, those data we don't need to maintain again in EWM. We'll start off with the product master. Today we'll be going more inside it. Okay, so what you see over here, unlike what we see in the ECC material master or the S4 material master, we over there, once we enter the product number or the material number, we will be asked by the system, there will be a pop-up coming in asking for the different views that we want to see. If we want to see almost all the views, we'll select all. Or if we want to have only selective views, we can also select those particular nodes. In EWM, you don't get that option. So you just need to enter the product number and the warehouse number. The supply chain unit will automatically be pulled in. Now this gets pulled in through where? Through the configuration that we had done of the warehouse number assignment to the supply chain unit. If you remember the first session, that we did a configuration, and from that the system automatically pulls in the supply chain unit. Now I'll just click on display over here. So now, as I mentioned, there are a lot of things which are coming in from ECC. Where in from ECC? From the material master, right? Like the properties, this has the generic information of the material. Then units of measurement. Now this is something that we see in basic data in ECC. So what I'll do is I'll also open this material in the standard ECC transaction for the material master. So we go to MM03. Now for this particular warehouse, it has been maintained. So therefore, I mentioned, but yes, it's a very valid point which you have highlighted. So if you have got multiple multiple plants linked to the same warehouse, say for example, in that case, whether it is a third-party logistics warehouse, whether it's not a third-party logistics warehouse, for very large organizations, there would be multiple plants linked to the same warehouse as well in different sites. So if it's just a distribution center, in that case, you have to enter this manually. Okay, and you can maintain different sets of data for the different party entitled to dispose as well. Okay, so over here, we are coming back to the ECC material master, select the basic data, and then from here, we have to select the WM execution and the WM packaging tabs as well. Now, these are the EWM relevant tabs. Why I say EWM relevant tabs? Because this is where I'll be maintaining the data, which will be also flowing in automatically to the EWM product master. Okay, how it flows in, that will be discussed. That we'll be discussing after this. Okay. So over here, you see, we go to additional data, and whatever you see over here in units of measurement, so the same thing that you'll find over here in the product master in EWM. Okay, so this is nothing that is being maintained in EWM separately. Okay. Now, you guys must be already, all of you have worked in ECC, so you guys are familiar with all the material master tables. So in EWM, it is more or less, some of the tables are similar, just you need to add SAP APO to that. Say for example, we have a table MARM, right? So this is a standard material master table that you guys must be used to in using in ECC as well. Now, from EWM perspective, there is this one, /SAP APO /MARM. Okay, but it's not for everything. I mean, you won't find all the M related tables in EWM, but yes, for some of them, it is there. Okay. Going back over here now, what is the most important data from an EWM perspective that we'll be maintaining over here? So what I'll do, I'll straight away jump to the warehouse data tab. There are three tabs actually. So the warehouse data tab, the slotting tab, and the storage type data tab. The storage type data tab will be covering when we are going to cover the replenishment part. So there is a topic in EWM for replenishment, and this is a master data actually that we will be using. It's not a mandatory master data, but this is one of the master data that we can use to set the min-max level for the replenishment. Okay, so I'll be covering this particular tab during the replenishment topic. Again, we have a topic, we have a tab, sorry, for slotting. So when we are going to cover the slotting topic, at that point in time, we'll be covering this tab. But in today's session, we'll be covering this tab, the warehouse data tab. Okay. So over here, as we had also seen yesterday, there are different classifications of the data that you can maintain. So there is a generic data, then there is data relevant for quality inspection. There's data relevant for put away, and then there's data relevant for stock removal. Okay. So in this case, also in the generic data, what we can see, we can also have this. We have this process blocking profile over here, which we can maintain. So nothing has been defined over here. So therefore, nothing is coming up. But you can configure your own process block profile. Okay, and you can map it over here. So what does this process block profile mean? So what happens is that in case you are using, you want a certain warehouse process type to be determined. Now, the first question should be, what is a warehouse process type? Because this is not something that you guys are using in ECC. So in EWM, there is no concept of movement type that we use. Okay, so whenever we are doing any movement in ECC, we will always use a movement type. Say, for example, if it's a goods receipt, it's a 101. I'm just taking basic examples. It's 101. Then if we are doing initial stock upload, it will be 561. So like that, we'll be using movement types. In EWM, directly, we are not using any movement type. So what we do in EWM, the entire warehouse activities are being defined within different processes, like put away, like goods receiving, like picking, like packing. So for replenishment. So we have divided all the different activities that are being performed into different processes. And the system also allows you to, if you want to customize, you want to create your own Z warehouse process type, you can do that as well. So what we use extensively in EWM is called the EWM warehouse process type. Or in short form, when you will be working in projects, you will come across the term WPT. Okay. So the warehouse process type is a configuration, which we will go to now before we again delve deep into this. So let me quickly open it. Again, the warehouse process type configuration, when we'll be talking about it, we'll be talking about the generic things today, because there are a lot of things actually that is interrelated within the warehouse process type configuration. And when we talk about the warehouse process type configuration, it is related to some complex processes as well, like storage control. Okay. So unless and until I cover all those topics, you will not understand the entire gambit of this configuration. But let us look at the generic part. So to go inside the warehouse process type configuration, what you need to do, you need to go to SPRO, SAP Extended Warehouse Management, Extended Warehouse Management, and within that, cross-process settings over here. And from cross-process settings, you need to open up warehouse task. And within warehouse task, you need to select define warehouse process type. Okay. So over here, you see in this particular configuration, once you double click and go inside, so you set up the against which particular warehouse you are defining the warehouse process type. So the warehouse process type is not a global configuration, it's a warehouse specific configuration. So the definition itself is created within a warehouse number. It is something similar to a storage location. Say, for example, you are creating within a plant. So it's something like that. So that means every warehouse can have same warehouse process type numbers. So SAP from the 0001, so this 0001 warehouse comes in with the stock solution. So it already has provided certain standard warehouse process types, like 1010 is used for put away, 1011 is used for put away with storage process. So I said that in a complex put away process, there is something that we use which is called storage control. I will touch base with that a little bit today at a high level, but there is a proper whole set of configuration that we are going to cover when we are going to cover the storage control topic. Okay, so SAP from a standard perspective as well, for the stock warehouse, they have provided this 1011 warehouse process type, which is the process type to be used if we are using any storage process. Okay, then we've got 2010 for stock removal, then 2020 for stock removal with two-step picking process. Again, this is something we'll be covering during the two-step picking process discussion, and the stock removal strategies along with trace picking. Okay, then you've got 2100 stock removal for production supply. Now, as I mentioned, the entire warehouse activities have been defined as different processes, right? Now, this stock removal is not a normal stock removal, as we are all aware. Now, this is done. Why do we do stock removal for production supply? So basically, in a warehouse, what happens? There would be a particular section which will be near the manufacturing line, where we need to take out the stock from our racks, the raw materials, and then we need to stage it towards the in that particular production supply area. So from a terminology perspective, we call it the production supply area. That is something that is also the same jargon that is being used in ECC as well. And today later we'll be seeing how do we replicate the production supply area from ECC to EWM. Okay. Then for replenishment also, you see there are different warehouse process types. Now let's just go inside one warehouse process type and see some of the generic controls, not the overall controls. Okay, because for the to understand the overall controls, again we have to go inside each and every topic. Right? So from a generic control perspective, if you see the warehouse process category over here, so it was used as stock removal. Sorry, the E was copied, so it got pasted. So this is, so if you see the process category over here, so it has been defined as whether it is put away, whether it is stock removal, whether it is internal warehouse movement, whether it is posting change. Because although this particular process is related to production supply, so in terms of the process category, the standard process categories that are there, these are the generic. I mean, even if it is for production supply, at the end of the day, you are removing, you're picking at the end of the day, right? So it's a stock removal. So basically, so that is what it has been configured over here. The next thing that is the activity. So yesterday we saw we had defined activities, right? And then we have mapped those activities to the activity area. So the activity also needs to be mapped over here. The activities that we define needs to be mapped over here against the warehouse process type. Okay. Now, this warehouse process type is used where? It is used when the warehouse task is getting created. Now, when the warehouse task gets created, you have an option to do the confirmation of the warehouse task. So the warehouse task basically has got two important steps. One is the creation, the other one is the confirmation. Now at the confirmation part, whether you want to do it manually or you want to do it automatically, that also you can control at this particular level over here through the warehouse process type. So we'll be discussing about warehouse task in detail on Monday's session. And we'll be also discussing certain things like warehouse order creation rule as well. So that is when we'll be talking about all these other controls as well. Because right now you'll not be understanding if I speak about all these things, especially the people who are new to it. But in general, it has got this, the way we have certain controls at the movement type section. Similarly, we have got these kind of controls, not exactly same, but we have got controls at the warehouse process type level as well. And every time a warehouse task is created, so let me show you in general, since I'm repeating about warehouse task, let me quickly try to see whether we've got some existing, there should be some existing data over here. So let me just quickly open it up. So this is a table that I'm using. So this table is a standard EWM table for confirmed warehouse tasks or any warehouse task which is cancelled as well. Okay, so I will just copy this. Operation perspective, how I work, I'm more used to using, it's much easier. I'm sure even you guys, all of you are experienced people, you guys will also prefer using tables. So Therefore, I just don't go straight away, go to the EWM monitor and do this. I just try using the tables as much as possible. If I remember the tables, if I don't remember, then yes, I do go to through the config nodes as well. Okay, so we've got a lot of warehouse tasks over here. So just let us take just one of them, and I'll open the generic view for you guys. Okay, here, so to check out any warehouse task in general, you can also go to the EWM monitor. So if you remember, we have seen this transaction yesterday, so /n/scwm/mon. So in the default values, you need to enter the warehouse number and then the monitor. How to define the monitor, how these nodes come and all these things, this will be covered in a separate topic. So the monitor that we are using, that's a standard SAP monitor, which comes along with all these nodes. And then over here, you need to open documents and you can go to warehouse task. There are other ways and means also to reach to this particular position, but this is a straight cut position where you can go and push in the warehouse task. So we have copied that warehouse task, and I will use all these checkboxes: open warehouse task, cancel, WT on hold, and confirm warehouse task, and I will execute it. Why I'm doing it? Because I did not check the status of the warehouse task in the table. Okay, so you see this is a warehouse task number. So let's see now. This particular icon in EWM is called the form view. Okay, so the form view, basically what it does is that it opens up what does it open? So this one is a horizontal view, right? So it will open up a vertical view for you. Okay, so you'll get same information in a horizontal view, and then a vertical view, and then you can just go through the information over here. So let's see what exactly does a warehouse task comprise of. So the warehouse task, if you see the generic data, it comprises of the warehouse process type, the first thing. Okay, so this particular warehouse process type Y220 has been defined as a stock removal warehouse process type. And then the next thing over here, since they are using a storage process for this warehouse process type, it got triggered through a storage process. That's why these things are coming up over here. I'll not be discussing this section because today we are not covering storage process. Okay, so just ignore the storage process and the external step part. Okay, we'll come back to it when we are covering that. The next details that it has is obviously who has created it, which particular user ID in SAP, the creation date, and the confirmation date as well. Okay. Now the warehouse task status over here is C. Do an F4 over here. So C stands for confirmed, A is for cancelled, and B is for waiting. Again, when we'll be covering the storage control process-oriented storage control, layout-oriented storage control, you would get to see that there would be certain tasks which will be in a waiting status as well. So the system creates the advanced next action task as well in advance based on the configuration settings that have been done. Again, I'll open up the form view. Now over here, if you see, apart from that, other important data is which product, what is the description of the product, what is the source quantity in base unit of measurement, what is the destination quantity, the stock type. So yesterday we saw what is the stock type. So the stock type basically signifies whether it's an unrestricted stock, whether it's a stock which has just yet been received, but it is not when let's say if I push a stock in as F1, say for example, and I will not make it unrestricted. I'll not assign it to the unrestricted stock. So basically that stock type will get triggered once we do the goods receipt. The stock has been goods receipted, but it is not yet, the quality check has not happened. Extra packaging, if required, has not happened. Therefore, it is not yet ready to be sent into this F2 stock type. So the F2 stock type over here, which we see, the warehouse task got created for the unrestricted stock type, right? So, and also it has the target quantity in alternate unit of measurement as well, which you can see over here is a pallet. Then it has got this other information as well. Now this warehouse task is, and over here in the movement data, you will see the source storage type, source bin from where the picking needs to be done, because this is a warehouse task meant for stock removal. And then the destination bin and the destination storage type, that is something that will be done either automatically determined by the system, or the bin will be determined by the forklift operator as well. So that can also be done. Okay. And over here you will see warehouse order activity area, which automatically will come, and the warehouse order creation rule as well. Now, this is something, as I mentioned, this particular topic, it has got its own whole set of configurations. So the warehouse order creation rule basically controls how your warehouse order is getting generated, which is at the header level for the warehouse task. So we have a warehouse order, and within that, there can be multiple warehouse tasks as well. So at the header level, it is the warehouse order. Okay. So whenever a warehouse task is getting created, the warehouse task will get created for that particular stock type. So it is not necessary that every time it will be for unrestricted use. It is depending on the warehouse process. Now, since in this case, the example which I'm showing you is for stock removal. So therefore, it is taking the stock type unrestricted. So when I'll be covering the warehouse order creation rule, warehouse task creation, so I'll be covering all those topics. Okay. So because the thing is, it's not only always F2. It can warehouse task can be created for F1 also, any stock type. Okay. So that is completely configurable, and it is not something manual. It is something automatically getting determined based on the settings that we have maintained. Whenever the warehouse task is getting generated, whichever is the stock type, you need to use that stock type only. Whether it is F1, if when at the time of warehouse task creation, if it is F1, then even if you're doing picking, you need to pick F1 only. If at the time of removal it is F2, you need to pick F2 only. It's like that. That configuration where we were assigning the stock type to the availability group, and the availability group in turn was again mapped to your storage type. So all these things are linked. So when we'll be covering it on Monday, I'll be showing you the entire logical flow for that. So you can see over here, the warehouse process type is over here, Y220. So the examples that we were seeing before this, so we were seeing 2100. Okay. So this is where our warehouse process type is defined. And now we go back to our product master. Why? In the product master, there is something called process type determination indicator. Okay. Now this process type determination indicator is not exactly the warehouse process type, but this process type determination indicator that we map over here against the product master again is a configuration which needs to be done first, and then that process type determination indicator needs to be mapped against the warehouse process type. So it is one of the important constituents for determining a warehouse process type for a particular activity. So let us quickly check that as well. I'm not going to make any changes. So you see over here, the next configuration over here is defining of controlling indicators for determining the warehouse process type. So we go inside this one, and we see over here that these are the process type determination indicators which have been defined. If you want to define your own indicator as well, you are free to do that. Okay, so say for example, over here, so the system allows you to create your own process type. Now, why will you create a Z process type? The reason why you create a Z process type determination indicator is if you see that the existing process types are not sufficient enough to handle the requirements of your client, and then you see for some additional requirements, you need to create new warehouse process types. So if you want the system to automatically assign that new warehouse process type for those particular set of products, so then what you will do, you will be creating a new process type determination indicator, and then you will assign this new process type determination indicator for the new Z warehouse process type that you will be creating. Okay. So now if you go to determine warehouse process type, so this is basically the configuration node where you set up based on what criteria a particular warehouse type process type is getting determined. Now in the warehouse task you saw, the process type that was determined was Y220, right? So over here in the configuration for this warehouse 1710, they must have maintained a particular setup based on which this Y220 is getting determined. Okay, so let us see what are the determinants. Now remember, this is something that we should know and understand, and it is very similar. I mean, when we say determinants, the way we have how is a shipping point determined in ECC? We have got those different factors, right? Transportation zone of customer and all those things. So how is a shipping point determined? So these are based on certain factors in ECC. Similarly, over here in warehouse process type also, this is the configuration. So the first thing obviously is the warehouse number. Then this is your document type. Okay, so this document type is basically your header document, and this is a EWM document type. Next is your item type over here. Again, this is your EWM item type. Then comes your delivery priority. Now, this delivery priority is something which we maintain at the customer master level in ECC. Okay, and it can flow in through the delivery. So if we have maintained any delivery priority at the customer master level, and then we have created an order for that particular customer, so that delivery priority will show up in the EWM side as well in the outbound delivery at the item level for that particular item, for a particular product. Okay, and based on that also you can determine, say for example, when I was working for one of a large pharmaceutical projects in Singapore, so over there they have the life-saving drug. Now let us assume now this was just the goods receipt part. Now similarly, if I suppose have another area over here, say for example, now this is a staging area, say for example, for the goods issue zone. Okay. And then we have one area over here, which is an extra packaging area or labeling area. Now, what is this labeling area? So what happens is that whenever you are shipping, since we're talking about the pharmaceutical scenario, whenever you are shipping medicines, so every country, if you're exporting it, every country has got its own requirement that it needs to be set as a legal requirement, which needs to be there on the barcode of that particular pallet which you are creating. Okay, so that is country specific. So if you, I mean, in this particular example that I'm giving, so they were exporting it to different countries across the globe. So what was happening was they have this labeling area, which so once the picking happens, the next step is that it goes to this labeling section. So this extra layer of labeling happens based on the country that has been, that it is going to be shipped to, and then finally it goes to this goods issue zone. Now, for certain cases, if this is it's a life-saving drug which has been ordered, so what will happen is that these steps will be actually skipped, and there is an additional label which comes in, which the forklift driver or the material handler can print. It's a mobile printer, so he can print that extra label which says that it's a life-saving drug. So the moment that particular product order comes in, so it doesn't go through these many steps. It will straight away go to the goods issue. The picking is done, straight away goes to the goods issue zone, and then from that it's loaded to the truck and it is being dispatched. Because it's a life-saving drug, someone's life is at stake. Okay. So in that case, what we had done was we had created separate warehouse process types so that those process types will not be involved in the POSC setup, the process-oriented control step setup. Okay. And that process type determination indicator was also being created for those warehouse process types. For the other warehouse process types which were being used for POSC setup, so those had different process type determination indicators. Now, if you see over here, so we talked about delivery priority, then we have the process type determination indicator. So over here, the way I had maintained that Z1, I can maintain the new warehouse process type determination indicator. And against that, I can maintain a Z warehouse process type over here. The way these guys have maintained this Y220, similarly, you can create your own warehouse process type, Z100, Z101, whatever. So you can define it, describe it as per the scenario that you guys are trying to create in this particular server. Okay. So once you do that, once this mapping is done, for the products to automatically determine that particular warehouse process type that you have created, the mapping needs to be done over here in the process type determination indicator field. You also have other things over here which are related to physical inventory, which are related to the outbound loading process as well. So that I will be covering during those particular topics when I'll be doing it. One thing that you can see over here is the preferred unit of measurement that is being maintained. Now, this preferred unit of measurement is something that you have got multiple units of measurement in the alternate unit of measurement as well. You can see the base unit of measurement for this product is pieces, but the preferred unit of measurement has been maintained as cartons. Now, how it impacts the EWM process? So basically what happens is that whatever preferred unit of measurement you have maintained, and there is an adjacent setting for a unit of measurement at the product level. So if that is also activated, so the system considers whenever it is creating the warehouse task, whenever it is receiving the goods, at the time of receiving, it will consider this preferred unit of measurement. So the stock will be displayed in that particular unit of measurement. But it's not only based on this particular setup. So I will have to explain it to you in more detail. There's a lot of interlinked configurations which need to be performed to achieve that. It's not only straight cut just maintenance of this preferred unit of measurement, and that is how the system will understand, okay, I need to do the receiving in cartons. No, it's not like that. There is a set of equivalent configurations that we need to do, and that I'll be covering during the inbound process. I'm just giving you an idea of where exactly this is being used. Then also serial number profile, whether if any serial number profile exists, so you can map it over here as well. Okay. Quality inspection. So if the quality inspection procedure is being controlled directly through EWM, because we've got scenarios where we are maintaining the quality inspection in ECC or in the ERP side as well. And we are combining, we are doing it through a linkage between EWM and integration between the quality management platform and EWM. So in that case, we don't need to maintain this particular master data, but only if we are doing the quality, we are using, there's something called as a QIE, quality inspection engine in EWM. If we are using it, then we can use this, the quality inspection group, inspection intervals, and all these things. So this will be covering during our quality inspection engine topic when we are going to cover that. When it comes to put away, this is again something we'll cover in detail because there is a lot of adjacent configurations that I need to show you guys as well. But this is something at a high level. This is the control based on which the system understands. Okay, so if for this particular material, this is the put away control indicator, and this is now I understand that based on this put away control indicator, this is the search sequence that the system will identify, and from there onwards, I will go and hit the storage type as per the sequence that is being maintained, and then from there onwards, I will try to search for the storage bin. So this basically helps us to determine automatically where we need to put away our product. So we might have different areas in the warehouse for different products, like the way in this diagram we have. For mobile phones, we have a different section. For television, we have a different. For drugs, we have a different storage type. So we'll do the mapping accordingly, and then the put away control indicator will also be created and mapped over here. I think put away control indicator. I mean, this kind of similar functionality is also being used in WM, I guess, when you are setting it up, if I'm not wrong. Then apart from that, you have storage section indicator as well. As I mentioned, that it is not something which is mandatory, but if you have storage sections like this, slow, medium, fast, cardio, derma, gastro, mobiles, television, aircon. So it's up to you. You can create your storage section indicators as well. Again, this is a topic which we will be covering during our inbound part, but if you guys want to go through as well, if you get some time during the weekend and you want to go through it, just for the people who are new to EWM, what you need to do is go to the goods receipt process, and then you open strategies, and over here you will find everything. Here, this is at the level of storage type, the strategies that you can set, and then you have at the level of storage section as well. Okay. So over here you can see create storage section indicators. So this storage section indicator is something which you're maintaining over there. Here you have defined put away control indicators. This is something you are again maintaining it over there in the product master. So this I will leave it up to you guys. We will cover this during our inbound session, but again, it's up to you if you guys want to go through it before that. You guys can go through this as well. Similarly, for removal, we have got these controls over here, and not only for the outbound and the inbound scenarios, we can control this. There's something called as the stock determination group, which we can use, which we will be using, in fact, when we are going to see the advanced production integration topic. And this is widely used. So the projects where I have worked in terms of the advanced production integration, we have used this setup, and I will be covering it during our advanced production integration setup. But in general, the stock determination group can be used from outbound perspective as well, but from the advanced production integration scenario as well. Okay, and you have got controls for the two-step picking part as well. And yesterday we were looking into the staging area and load determination group. This is also somewhere where once we define it, we can do the mapping over here for product wise as well. As I mentioned, for specific products, you want to push it into specific doors, then you can do the mapping over here. Okay. So this is for the warehouse data. As I mentioned, the slotting data and the storage type data, we will be covering for those when we are covering those specific topics. Within the storage data, some of this data will fly from ECC as well. So you can see the item category groups is something which flies in from ECC. If there is any warehouse storage condition, like say for example, the product needs to be stored in an ambient condition. Yesterday we were talking about medicines being stored inside freezers, medicine being stored inside a particular temperature. So whatever storage conditions that are being defined, mapped in ECC, it will automatically flow in through here. Okay. So apart from that, in terms of packaging data, so you see, since this is a standard material, now for this particular material, this handling unit type is actually flying in from the ECC side as well. So over here within WM packaging, so these two tabs, WM execution and WM packaging, these are the two tabs through which the data, whatever data we are maintaining over here, so these relevant data will be flowing into EWM. So what happens is that when we are maintaining the data, sometimes in certain projects, what they do, they are only maintaining this handling unit type data for the packaging materials, not for every material. Okay, I've also seen companies using where they are using handling unit types they are maintaining this handling unit type for every material. But some of the projects I have worked on, they are using it only for the packaging material. So because right now over here you can see it's blank, right? So let me show you a packaging material. So packaging material means, I mean, we will define, suppose, a product for cartons, or pallets, bottles, like that. So if you see over here, the handling unit type has been maintained for this packaging material. And if I just copy this and open the same set product, oh yeah, I think this was already the same one. My bad. Okay, packaging data. So you see the packaging material type and the handling unit type has been populated over here. Whereas for the other product, the basic product, it was not there. So YN03, right? So this YN03 is an internal packaging material, but you will also find different kinds of packaging material types. If you can see over here, and this is also completely configurable as well. With this, we have covered the warehouse product in a generic way. We will be jumping into this every now and then when we are covering the relevant topics as well. When we do when we are doing the inbound part, we'll again go inside the put away control. When we do the outbound part, we do go inside the stock removal control like this. Apart from this, other important data that we have seen yesterday as well is the storage bins, which is also considered as a master data. but the storage bin data is something which is independent, that is not available in ECC, that is only available in EWM. And the storage bin data, as I mentioned to you, most of the time, because there will be multiple number of bins that you need to create for a particular warehouse. So generally, the data will be uploaded. Now, who does this upload? Is it the IT team? Is it the consulting team? Or is it the in-house team from the client side? Or is it the super user? Most of the projects that I've worked in, the super users will be trained in this because they will be giving us the structure, but it is not it's not something. It depends on how we are, putting the roles and responsibilities, and also putting in from the governance perspective, how we are handling the project. So in most of the cases I've seen, if the super users are equipped enough, educated enough, qualified enough, and they can be trained, they will be handling the bin upload part as well and the bin sorting part. But if not, then we will be giving them the templates. They will be filling it up and giving it back to us, because we don't know how many number of bins would be there inside the warehouse. You will go there to see it physically, but you will not know exact structure, within which storage type, how many bins should be there, and all these things. Whether it should be bulk, whether it is a racking bin. So how will you define that? So all those things, the templates will be shared with the users. They will fill it up. If they are not uploading it, they'll send it back to us. Now, when it comes to the sorting part as well, that is also something that they need to tell us how they want the sorting to happen for the different activities, for put away, for stock removal, and all those things. And also whether they want the system to automatically determine the final bin, or they just want the system to determine the storage type. That means they just want the system to determine E1 HR, or they want to determine the exact bin over here in this rack. So all these things the users will tell us from the business side, and this is not something that we will decide on our own. We can recommend based on our experience across the different industries that we have worked. We can recommend what will be the best part, but yes, the actual requirement will be coming in from the business side. Another set of master data now, which is required to be maintained. Now, the system that I'm showing to you is an embedded system. So this system does not have that requirement. What requirement? Creation of separate, or creation of the data transfer for the customers, for the vendors. So this requirement doesn't exist for an embedded system, right? Because you are creating it's one single box, and you create the business partner. So that itself is for both the environments, for EWM as well as for ECC. But in the decentralized environment, because we've got two separate boxes, you have to create. So say for example, the decentralized environment is also S4, and the EWM environment is also S4. In that case as well, you still need the communication to flow in from ECC, or from the S4 environment, ECC S4 environment, ERP S4 environment to the EWM S4. Similarly, if it's suppose S4 EWM and ECC box, still you need to set up the model. Even if it's not S4 EWM, it's EWM 9.5 or 9.3 or 9, whatever, and if it's ECC, we still need the model. Now, how we set up the models, why I'm emphasizing on these versions of EWM, because it depends on the versions, what kind of model you'll be setting up. So generally, when it comes to S4, when the EWM system is S4, then we'll be using the EAB model or the IDOC model to transfer the customer data, the vendor data to EWM in the decentralized environment. We've got multiple, even the material data. So to set up, so this is for sending material, the transaction is BD10. BD10, this is the transaction. It's BD10. I'm just entering it in the chat as well. BD10. This is for material. So you need to activate this, and for one material, and you see the message type. So generally, what happens? This is this message type has a structure. That means what information from ECC will go into EWM. Say for example, I showed you HU type. So that is inside that structure. But if you want some additional data, some Z fields you have created in Material Master in ECC, and you want those Z fields to be also reflected in the EWM Product Master. I'm just giving an example. In that case, you will create a new message type, which you will define as ZMatMass. The existing projects that you guys are working in EWM, just check this. If they are using the ANE interface, they will be using ZMathMass. They're not using MathMass because there would be some XYZ fields which is specific to the organization which doesn't come in the standard structure. Okay. So you check that, what is inside those, what are those additional fields in ZMathMass? You will identify that, okay, so these are the additional fields. So that's why they have created this new Z message type. Okay. I'm not sure whether you guys have done it yourselves or whether someone else has done the implementation, but you can check that in your existing systems. In this system, you won't get it, but you can create it yourselves. So what happens is that, I mean, there are certain structural differences when you talk about the embedded system, right? So whenever you're creating the material itself, within that itself, there are some additional fields which are relevant for EWM as well. So if the EWM, I mean, if the plant is, if the material is maintained for a plant in S-log combination, which is EWM relevant, it will flow. You don't have to do additional maintenance of this data. Okay. But in a decentralized environment, you definitely need to do this. So you can now, again, decentralized environment, if the receiving system is S4, so this is from my experience I'm seeing. SAP gives you an option, yes, you can use ANE model, I mean this IDOC model to do the distribution. But there's also something called as the core interface, which is commonly known as SIFIC. So you can also use the SIFIC model. I will quickly show you that as well for the decentralized environment. But those, I mean, nowadays I've seen in the newer projects, mostly what they're using is the ANE model. Okay, so this is for material. Then you've got, oh sorry, my bad, BT12. This is for customers, and then this is for vendor. Because if you get time, you also go through the slides. They are very, very exhaustive as well. A lot of good information is provided in these slides. So especially for people who are new to EWM, it's going to be really helpful for you. So again, over here, say for example, for vendor, you would see the message type which is generally being used is CREMAS, CREMAS. So again, if you see there is some additional vendor information which is not available in this structure, which is Z, which has been created from an ECC perspective or S4 perspective, then you will see Z CREMAS, Z CREMAS. You can go inside that message type structure and check that. Okay. Generally, it depends again on companies. Some certain companies, this new message type construction and everything will be handled by ABAP. Some of them will be handled by basis. It depends. Some of them they will ask, no, we don't know this, or they will ask you for the information. They will create it, but just creation rights they will still keep it with themselves because we are talking about message type construction. Okay. So it depends on how you maintain the roles and authorization. It depends on project to project. So this is how we do it through the ANE model. And if you're using the core interface, which you will also come across if you have worked on older EWM versions. So you will see this is, what is the core interface? So it's called the SIFING model. So in the SIFING model, the first transaction is CFM1. So in CFM1, let me just push in that as well. So over here, what we do, so you can see there are different objects over here, right? So you create a model name, suppose EWM underscore test like this, okay, and then provide the receiving system, the logical system. So you can suppose, let's give this. Oh, sorry, my bad. I selected the S4 HANA logical system. We have to, okay, so this is, it is not showing, it's only showing the S4 HANA logical system. So we will, to use the SIFING, so since this is an embedded system, that's why it is, it doesn't have this. But in a decentralized environment, you will be defining your EWM logical system as well, and you have to select the EWM logical system. Okay, and then after that, you select the materials. Say, for example, you want to sift materials, and if you want to sift entire list of materials which are there, you will not push in the filter. You will not use the filter over here. If you want to use selective materials, then you can use selective materials as well. Execute it, and then once you select the rows, the integration model will be created. The next step is to activate the integration model. So once the integration model is created, you activate it. So once the integration model is activated, what happens in the background, the communication happens through QRFC only, through RFC only. It's a SIFING queue which gets generated. which will take in all the product changes to EWM. It will create a queue and it will take everything and it will go there. So generally what we do, if we are using shipping, we'll be setting up a batch job, and this batch job will be for creation, activation, and deletion. Because sometimes you have to delete the shipping model as well. If you're working in projects in EWM where they're using the shipping model, you will see that there are background jobs for the shipping variants as well. Okay, so it will actively, so it will depend on the frequency. If you set it up for every 15 minutes, half an hour, one day, it's up to you. I mean, sorry, up to the business requirement and how frequently new changes are happening in materials. I've worked on projects back in India where on an average, every day, one production line manufactures on an average close to 1,600 new materials. Only one production line. So in a particular warehouse, manufacturing plant, sorry. So you can get those kind of situations as well. So it depends how the setup is being done. Okay. So for, as I mentioned, so you can either go for the AD model or you can go for the shipping interface as well. It's up to up to the versions also which are there. But the AD versions are much more better. There are lesser issues as compared to the shipping. That is what I have experienced at least. Okay, so let me quickly show you a flow of an inbound delivery, which will come into EWM, and how it is getting created and all those things. So whenever we are creating an inbound delivery, automatically it will get distributed to EWM. How does it get distributed to EWM? Through the QRFC mode, queued RFC. RFC stands for remote function call. So what is a remote function call? So it is going to basically, we map the destinations as you must have seen in the first session of the logical systems. So one logical system will be calling the other logical system, and that set structure which we have assigned where in the distribution model. So let us quickly go through that once so that you will refresh your memory. We go to the distribution model transaction BD64, and over here, if you remember, we had mapped all these different business application programming interfaces, in short form BAPIs, to the warehouse number. Okay, so the transaction that we use to do this mapping is OL19, and over here we had mapped our warehouse and have provided the EWM logical system, the distribution model, and then we had created the entries. So for this one, it's already created, so I'm not going to create, I just check the entries. And you can see over here, you've got a BAPI for inbound delivery save replica. So this is the BAPI which actually triggers the inbound delivery creation in EWM. So this is the BAPI which actually takes the information, creates a queue, and then it is posting it in EWM, generating the inbound delivery. So what I would do is, for you guys to understand how the queue looks like, I will now stop the queue. Now, if I create a delivery, it will automatically get distributed to EWM. It will not stop anywhere. So what I will do, there is a parameter, I will stop the queue and I will show you how the structure looks like. So in order to do that, what I need to do, I need to go to SU3 transaction. So if you're using a decentralized environment, guys, remember, because sometimes this might be required when you are doing certain troubleshooting scenarios as well, or if you want to stop the queue and debug the queue and all these things. So whenever you are using this parameter, setting up the parameter, in the embedded environment, you just need to use this parameter, only this parameter, SCWM if underscore debug underscore QRFC. You can note it down. I will just pass it on to your chat. And the value that you need to maintain over here in the parameter value is X in capital. It's a case sensitive value. Remember that. Okay. So it's a case sensitive value. You need to maintain it in as X. Now, if you want to stop the queue in the ECC side as well. So it is the same parameter, just what is the difference? It's /SPE/if underscore debug underscore QRFC. Okay, so instead of SCWM, it is SPE. Remember that. So I'm going to save it on this profile now. And let's see if I create the inbound delivery, it gets automatically distributed or the delivery stops in the queue itself. Okay, so I'm creating a delivery, not creating the purchase order and all those things that we will be doing when we'll be covering the inbound scenario. I'm just straight cut creating a inbound delivery without any reference. So I'm doing a stock upload using 561 movement. This is the MyGo transaction. I'm sure all of you are aware about it. So I'll just push in the material. So I'll just check everything is fine or not with this with this document. Everything is fine. So the moment since this is the storage location that I have selected is an EWM managed storage location. So in general, when you are doing any postings in MyGo, the goods movement gets posted, right? No. So whenever you're using EWM, when I click on post, it is going to create a delivery. Now, since this is a stock upload, it's going to create an inbound delivery so that I need to do the receiving and the put away and all those things. So you see this delivery got created, ending with 48. So what I will do is I will just simply go to displaying of queue. Now, since I've stopped the queue, I'm expecting that the queue should stop. Let's see what happens. So I will just, okay, so to view queues in EWM, sorry, my bad, I did not talk about the transaction. The transaction code is SMQ2 for inbound queues, SMQ1 for outbound queues. So if you want to search for the delivery, just type in the delivery number. Perfect. So the parameter that we had set, it has stopped the delivery. Good news for us. We go inside the delivery and you can see the status of this. So this is how the queue looks like. So people who are seeing it for the first time or who have not yet got the exposure to EWM, so this is how the queue would look like. And you can see the queue status is no execution. That means it's a stop queue. Okay, so in general, when I will show you, when I'll delete those parameters, there is nothing which stops over here unless and until there is an error. Unless and until there is an error or a prerequisite which is not being maintained, because of which the delivery gets stuck. So in that case, now this particular delivery, since it is in a in a stop status, that means if I go to the inbound delivery transaction in EWM, I will not be able to find this delivery. So to access the inbound delivery, the transaction in EWM is SCWM PRDI. Okay. So over here, if I push in the delivery number, then there is nothing over here. Because why? Because the delivery which will come only if this queue gets processed. Now, if I go inside this, double click and go inside, you will see the details. The user, the function module it is showing over here. This is a standard function module. This function module gets called through the PAPI that we had assigned in the distribution module. Okay, so this inbound delivery safe replica function module is basically the same function module which is mapped within that PAPI, which we have mapped against our ECC warehouse number in the distribution module. So the display setup has not yet been done. Otherwise, I would have shown you the queue container. So if you double click on this queue, so you will go inside the queue container. So let me quickly show you what exactly does the queue container contain. So in order to do that, you can see this is the debug mode over here. You don't have to do that. But I'm just showing you that this is an option also that has been provided in the QRFC monitor. So what we can do, we can copy this function module over here. I will go inside. Okay, so once I go inside, so I will put a breakpoint on the function module. And you can see it has hit this particular function module. Now in this particular function module, you would see all these different structures which it is bringing in. From our perspective, some of the important structures I will quickly show you. Now this I'm showing you to you in this debug mode because that viewing structure has not yet been activated. After today's session, I will activate that viewing structure, and then you can see the same structures in the queue container. So you see these are some of the structures, and if you see over here within item data, if I go inside, it is coming with all these values. Okay, delivery number, the material number, quantity, base unit of measurement, and all these things.